Hi, I'm Shannon Watkins, and I am here this morning with the Chancellor of UNC Wilmington, Chancellor Jose Sartarelli. The Chancellor started his work at UNCW on July 1st, 2015. And before coming to UNCW, Chancellor Sartarelli served as the Dean of the College of Business and Economics at West Virginia University, where he was for 5 years. Chancellor Sartarelli also spent 3 decades in international marketing and management. Chancellor, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah.
All right, so to get started, my first question, in your view, what is the primary purpose of higher education, and how does UNCW pursue that mission?
Well, I think the way I see it is the primary goal of higher education is to prepare and enable young men and women to become citizens. As we do that, we do a service to the country. And that's what we're all about. We are in the business of preparing young men and women to succeed in life and to participate in society and in a democratic society. And that's what we're supposed to do.
Excellent, thank you. So UNC Wilmington has gone through a lot in recent years with Hurricane Florence and then the pandemic. How did these challenges impact your plan for UNCW?
I think they kind of helped or shaped some of those plans. From the very beginning, we set a vision for a university to to be recognized as a university that was focused on excellence, for its global mindset and for its community engagement. So those 3 things were pursued vigorously throughout my 6.5 or soon to be 7 years in Wilmington. And so as we hit the Hurricane Florence in 2018, and then Dorian 2019, and then the social justice movement in 2020, and then the pandemic in 2020, we have had to adjust, we have had to modify, we have had to change some of the things that we were doing, but we have not lost the focus. We stayed very focused on achieving what we wanted to do, which is to remain excellent and to remain globally focused and to remain community to community.
Excellent, thank you. So students are back on campus now, for many being remote for over a year. How has that transition from online to in-person instruction been so far?
We, as you may have realized, we tried to do twice. We tried to do that. The first time we tried to do that was last fall, and then when we brought the students back and to live on campus, etc., we had some issues in terms of infections. So we had to de-densify. We had students living together, and we basically focused on having 1 student per room, so to speak. And so we had to send some. In fact, we sent 700 students back home in the fall of 2020. Once we de-densified, it worked relatively well, and we were able to keep the students on campus, as some other universities were not able to do it. We kept them on campus. Then we went into the spring of 2021, and we decided to go fully, or to remain online, and in the summer too. And then we were really preparing to go fully normal in the fall of this year. We started very eager back in late July, early August, but then we had to make some changes, and we disrupted and stopped a lot of the programming that we had for events, for activities on campus, etc. But we kept emphasizing the need for us to keep the students living on campus. And in the beginning, but we decided to do it using testing. And so we've been doing testing, significant amount of testing. every week. We're testing between 3,000 and 4,000 people a week. The idea was to test, identify a positive case, take them out and put them in quarantine or in isolation. We reserved a dorm to do exactly that with 150. Well, the dorm has more than that, but with 150 rooms available for quarantine and isolation. In August, as we started this year, this fall, in August, we had one day we hit 122 positive cases. And this past week, we had several days with 0 positive cases. And we're averaging now 1 or 2 or 3, maybe 4 a day, if at all. So it's worked wonderfully. We've been able to keep all the students on campus, 4,200 or so. And I think in both last year when we had to de-densify, and this year where we had to quote unquote do extensive testing and isolation, I think it's worked.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Good. So the university has made progress in ensuring that free expression is protected on campus. UNC Wilmington, for example, has a green light free speech rating from the Foundation for Individual Rights and Education. But there's always room for improvement. Has the university considered endorsing a statement in favor of free speech, such as the Chicago Principles?
Let me go back to the beginning somewhat. You know, when I arrived in July of 2015, we were not green. We were, I think, red, turning yellow, but not there yet. And so I made a point at the very beginning to work with our folks and work with fire to make sure that we got it right. And we've been green ever since. There's nothing more significant and more important to me than the First Amendment. First Amendment talks about freedom of press, freedom of speech, assembly, religion, and all those things are very critical, but particularly freedom of speech and expression is very important. So we've been protecting that very much. You know, I've been accused also by different people that, you know, the university is you know, not doing it. It's protecting certain allegiances and others, but that's not the case. We make an extra effort to make sure that both students and faculty and staff have all the freedom they can to express themselves. In fact, I believe that the university it's the marketplace of ideas. This is where the place we should be allowing, we should have civility on one hand, and we should allow free expression extensively on the other hand. And in this age of cancel cultures, et cetera, that is, cancel culture is such a negation of free speech that is so sad. And, you know, back in the 60s, or I lived through the 60s, you guys did not, but, you know, for those of us who lived through the 60s, we were fighting very much for freedom of expression and free of speech. And I myself in Brazil, since I was born and raised in Brazil, I went and stayed under a military dictatorship for 10 years with no free speech. And I can tell you, I did not like it. It was crazy, right? So free speech for me is very dear to my heart. It's very important to the university. We'll do everything we can to ensure that faculty, staff, and students have that ability to exercise free speech.
No, I mean, that's wonderful to hear. I think you may have alluded to this, but recently in headlines, there was news that a former trustee, Woody White, left, citing a lack of viewpoint diversity. Is there anything that you can tell us about that?
I think there's been different people have misunderstood some of the things we've done, but you know, case by case, you know, when President Trump ran for office, he wanted to come and speak. Well, we allowed him to come and speak, and as we should, any other candidate too. And so he came and spoke, and we had to obviously keep the parties apart and segregated so they would not get into fights and that kind of stuff. And so so we've been protecting free speech all along. We've been protecting free speech of both the left persuasion as well as the right persuasion, both sides. I believe this country, based on democracy and capitalism, it's a great society, and we want to continue supporting it. So I think there was some misunderstanding, but any accusation coming from the right or the left that we do not protect free speech is absurd. Because and Andrea knows that, and we debate this in the cabinet all the time. I am a great proponent of point counterpoint, it's the way we should be. This is the marketplace of ideas. This is where debate, different points of view should be discussed, should be elaborated on, and we should. And we have I don't know if you know that, but Shannon, we have a respect compact. This respect compact that we signed and among ourselves and board of trustees and student organization talks about exactly that, is how do you ensure free speech, the freedom of expression, and you do it civilly, with civility. Because if you don't do it with civility, then you're going to violence. In physical confrontation, etc. We do not want physical confrontation. We want free speech, the ability for you to speak up your mind and to be protected as you do it day in and day out by faculty, by staff, and by students.
Oh, no, that's very interesting. What was the name of that pact you mentioned?
Respect Compact. We can give you a copy of it. And in fact, we renewed it. We signed it, well, the first version was, made several years ago, but we renewed it in 2017. I think it's a different updated version. And so the faculty senate signed, the student organization signed, the staff senate signed, all of us signed, because the future of our democracy relies on that, relies on the ability to do it with civility. If we don't do it with civility, we're done. We're done as a country and as a society. So civility is going to be very important, how to do it civilly, so that respecting each other's dignity and points of view. And if we don't do that, we've got a problem.
Absolutely. Is that compact shared with students during orientation, or is it online for them?
It is online. It's shared extensively. Maybe we should provide her a copy of it, Andrea.
Yes, sir. I pulled it up on my other screen, and Shannon, I'll send you a link to it.
That'd be great. Yeah, thank you. I'm curious, is it in the materials that you provide students at freshman orientation? Is that when they're first introduced to it?
I will ask our orientation leaders to see, because I actually don't review that packet of information, but I will find out when and where it's first introduced to them.
Right.
I'm excited to hear about that. And that's why I asked, because we always think about, starting students off strong. So if you have an excellent document like that, then.
Right. And by the way, I've got mine placed on the back of my room here.
Oh.
It says Seahawk Respect Compact. It's right up there. It's on the wall. And I would encourage, in fact, every faculty and any representative of the university to use it and to make sure that the students know what it is. And if you ask our student president of our SGA, the Student Government Association, he knows very well about it. He's a strong proponent for free speech, but you have to do it with civility. Without civility, you cannot do it.
Agreed. Okay, thank you. Excellent. So you recently announced that you plan to retire next summer. I want to ask, looking back on your time at UNC Wilmington, what do you consider to be your biggest accomplishment as chancellor? And is there anything you would have liked to have done differently how would you like to see the university improve in the future? It's a lot of questions.
Right. Well, I think, I don't know if you know that, Shannon, but you probably do not. But since 2009, this university has been the fastest growing university in the UNC system. We have grown 40% since 2009. So we've added almost 5,000 students. Under my administration, I've added almost 3,500 students. So it's a very fast growing university, and we're very proud of that. And in that growth, there's some areas that we've grown more than others. For example, we have grown our graduate program significantly. We're up to 36, almost 3,600 students now. And when I arrived, we had like 1,600, 1,700 students. So we grown graduate programs very significantly. We also have grown online education significantly, particularly in the graduate programs. So that's also seen a major increase. We have grown, for example, some of the colleges. One of the colleges, the College of Health and Human Services, in 2010 had 1,500 students, 1,500, and now has this year 4,700 students. You went from 1,500 students to 4,700 students today, almost 5,000, huge growth. We have now the largest nursing school in the state with 3,000, almost 3,000 students, major programs in nursing, and including a doctorate. We have also grown international significantly. And, you know, when I arrived, we had 52 partnerships internationally. We have 119 today. So we have done that very well. The other thing that we've done, which I think is important, we also got approved about 17 new programs in the past 6.5 years. Now, these programs run all the way from digital arts to data science, to a bachelor now in cybersecurity, the first one in the state, by the way, and a bachelor in systems engineering, intelligent systems engineering, which is a combination of software development, cybersecurity, and artificial intelligence. So we have been developing very unique, forward-looking, modern programs that attracts a lot of students, and the students just love these programs. 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, we created the first coastal engineering bachelor in the country. So that's also another major accomplishment. And then about 3 years ago, the Carnegie Foundation or corporation included us in the doctoral program. So we're now a doctoral university. You know, the universities are classified by Carnegie in different types, regional universities, doctoral. We're now a doctoral university, and with how do you call it? High research activity. It's what we call an R2. So in the system of North Carolina, we've got Charlotte, ECU, Greensboro, A&T, and us now as R2s. And then the R1s are Chapel Hill and NC State. So I think that ascension to doctoral is very important. It puts emphasis on research, and that is, it is going to be very defining for the nature of this university in the years to come. And the second thing, which I think is also very defining in the life of the university in the future, is engineering. You know, we've tried back in 2008, 2009 to get engineering programs approved. We didn't get them approved, and finally, we now have 2 engineering programs underway: coastal engineering and intelligent systems engineering, and there's going to be more in the future. So I think engineering for our area, for an area of the state that's growing very fast, where we have very strong healthcare systems, where we have fintech as a major center with Live Oak Bank, et cetera, to grow engineering programs for innovation, for economic development is going to be very important for our region of the state and for the state itself. So that's going to be very exciting and very important. And finally, I want to leave a couple of things with you, is the construction that we engaged. We've got, since I've arrived here, we've garnered about $450 million of investments And we've built 23 new buildings on campus. And so in addition to that, we benefited from, quote unquote, from Florence, because we had to modernize, we had to renovate some buildings, we had to change and replace roofs in buildings, etc. But all in all, it's about $450 million. And in addition to that, if the legislature approves their new budget this year, we're going to get another amount of money for our renovation of our Rendell library, So I think it's almost $1 billion, $500 million invested in the infrastructure of the university, preparing the university for the future. I see this university as a doctoral university with engineering in it, and 25 to 30,000 students in the future. So it's coming. It's a matter of time before we become a significant player in the universe of higher education in the state.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that answer. My final question is, what advice do you have for your successor?
For my successor, I think I listed up 3 things here. One is make sure that you get the strategic plan down and set the goals and stay focused. And I think our success here was based on that. Even though we had the hurricanes, even though we had the social movement, social justice movement, even though we had the pandemic, we stayed focused. And that was important. So set the goals and stay focused. Second thing is, from the very beginning, work very closely with faculty, particularly faculty and staff, but also students. Make sure that you reach out to the students especially. The students are the rewarding part of it to a large extent, because since I've been here, we've graduated 27,000 students, and by the time I leave in June, we'll have graduated 32,000 students. That's about a third of all the alumni of the university. So, to be able to do that and to be able to influence and help and enable these future citizens, or these citizens of the country, in this case, now 32,000, I think it's exciting. And so stay focused, set the goals, stay focused, and do not allow any, quote unquote, interference, either natural disasters or not so natural disasters, to interfere. Do not lose focus, stay focused.
Wonderful advice. Well, Chancellor Sartarelli, those are all my questions. Thank you so much. If there's anything else that you would really like to add, feel free. Otherwise, we can conclude.
Okay, well, let me, the only final thing I'd like to do is to, living in the spirit of the Respect Compact, letting civility prevail and let the ideas be discussed. I think in this day and age where we have so much pressure having to do with, the social justice movement, let's keep a perspective on it. This country has made great progress in all kinds of things. And it would be unwise for us to lose focus of the progress we've made. Let's recognize the progress. And the progress is made on the shoulders of many, many people. Plus, we fought a war for it, right? We fought a civil war for this. Thousands of people were killed. And so let's make sure that we keep this in perspective. Let's continue advancing. Let's continue ensuring non-discriminatory policies across the board. Let's bring in and make sure that every student belongs here. One of the things that I'm very concerned about is when I do surveys of students, some groups of students feel that they very much belong here. Other groups of students do not. So how do I make sure that changes? So that every student, that irrespective of any persuasion that comes to this university, feels that this is their home, this is their place. And to be able to do that over time is going to be very important. And to continue doing that, very important for all of us, in fact. as a society and as a university.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today.
Okay.